So what is the biggest deal killer after someone initiates a real estate contract? I'm here with Nick Morgan. How you doing, Nick?
I'm doing well, Joe. How are you?
Pretty good. So for those of you who don't know me, I'm Joe Harris from Morgan Financial, and this is keeping your business on track. So going to contract, right? People, they find the house they love, they write a contract,
Yep.
and then they right after the contract accepted, then they typically do their home inspections, right? And this is the number one deal killer right now from our perspective into a residential real estate transaction is the home inspection. People are backing out because of the results of these home inspections, at least where we are here in Florida.
Yeah, exactly. I was about to say we are in Florida. It might be different in different parts of the country.
Might be different in other parts, correct.
But yeah, definitely for us. And in those home inspections, what are they looking at?
Well, they're looking at the systems and different, like they're looking electrical. Like, let's take a step back. The 4-point inspection, okay?
Yeah.
To get insurance on most houses, it helps to have that 4-point inspection. And in that inspection, they're looking at the major systems, like they're looking at the roof, AC, electrical, and plumbing. So those are the biggest expenses in the home.
Right.
And so that also will, those determinations of those will also help with insurance, right? And you have to, if you're getting a mortgage on a property, it has to be insured.
I gotcha. Yeah. So I was going to ask that next. Do you need in-home inspection to get insurance? Like, can you find a carrier who's like going to be cool with, the home's not inspected, but we got you?
Well, so typically you don't give the home inspection to the insurance carrier.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
They do collect a win mit or 4-point inspection if the age is of the home is a certain age.
Okay.
And you don't need the home inspection per se, but you might need the 4-point and the win mit to help you with, at least get some discounts or potential discounts, and in some cases get insurance.
Okay. So if a problem arises within that inspection or within those, within that 4-point, those 4 big sections, why does it matter? How does that knock the deal off the cliff? How does that knock you out of qualifying, whatever? Like, why does that not allow you to go through with it?
Well, it's not that it necessarily precludes you or doesn't allow you to go through with it. It's just the homeowner is going to look at the inspection and say, these are issues I can deal with or these are issues I can't deal with, right? And if the homeowner says, yeah, I'm good with these issues, you have to be able to get insurance, and the insurance has to be okay with the issues as well,
Right.
if they're known issues to the insurance carrier.
Okay.
And I'm not saying to hide anything from the insurance carrier, because if they do their own inspection later on, they're going to find these things out anyway.
Right.
But some matter more than others.
Okay. So if there is a problem with the inspection, does that make insurance harder to acquire? Does it make it more expensive? Like, how does the relationship with the insurance company go?
Well, I didn't want to turn this into an insurance conversation, but it's naturally going to go that way a little bit, because if you can't get insurance, that's going to be a problem. You can't get a loan, right? And so, obviously, if the roof is over a certain age, most insurers in Florida say, I don't want to insure the property. If the AC is completely on its last legs, it only has a little bit of life left, the homeowner is going to say, is that an expense I want to incur over the next couple of years?
Yeah.
Or should I look for a different house?
Yeah.
And, at that point, it's, is the, let's say, aluminum wiring in Florida or cloth, or I think they call it cloth or fiber wiring also. These are issues. You can't typically get insurance with these issues. They either need to be fixed to get insurance, or a fix has to be in place. And most carriers, they don't allow for you to do a lot of these things after closing anymore.
Right. Okay. The other problem that I saw, at least in ops, is you might have one of these problems and get insurance, but that increases your DTI to a point where you might fall out of qualifying.
Well, it could. Yeah, you're right. The insurance could be so prohibitively expensive,
Right, yeah.
that someone's going to say, "Well, that knocks me out." If you're expecting it to be $3,000 a year, which actually is inexpensive now in Florida, and it's $7,000 a year.
Yes.
Well, that's an added expense you weren't prepared for. Maybe you move on to a different property.
Exactly. So how could you prevent these problems from occurring?
It depends. A lot of these problems, you can't, prevent them, age of roof, right?
Yeah.
If the roof is 30 years old, that's going to be a problem to get insurance in Florida. And so if you're looking at a house and the roof looks old and you ask the question, is this an old roof? What year is the roof, done? And they say it was 30 years old. And maybe the agents talk, hey, is there any chance they would do any concessions or put on a new roof? And the answer is no. Well, why would you write a contract then, right? but maybe you don't know the roof's old. Maybe you didn't know. And that's the whole point of inspections. Let's not forget that a lot of these times when people back out, there's nothing you could do.
Yeah.
Right? You didn't know that these issues were there prior. You might get the disclosures from the sellers before writing the contract. But that's what inspection period is for. It's for discovery. Are there issues with the home that we couldn't see?
Yeah.
That's why I highly advise. I don't, obviously I'm not going to give financial advice, but good financial advice, I'm not going to do it, but here it is, would be to get a home inspection to discover these issues and, see if, hey, can it work? But it's better to know what your issues are going into it, right? And if you decide it can't work, then yeah, you'd want to back out of that contract. But there are a lot of solutions for these problems, right? If you can get insurance, well, is the solution, can the agents put the deal back together and say, listen, seller, whoever buys this property is going to have this objection moving forward. If we take it off the market, they're going to want to know why, right? And if we took it off the market because there is an issue on the inspection, is it worth the $3,000 or $5,000 or $7,000, to fix that, or is it worth giving a concession to the buyer to go ahead and buy it and to let them fix it later if it's not going to impede their ability to get a mortgage or to get insurance?
Yeah, that was like the last question I was going to ask you is which way does it normally go? Because it is the seller selling the house. So if these issues do arise, do you more often see them giving concessions or do you more often see the buyer bending, similar to our appraisal conversation? Which way do you see it bending most?
I was just talking to one of our top loan officers here, two of them actually, and they both said the same. One of them just had a deal that's probably going to fall through because of inspections. The insurance is going to be way more expensive than they thought, like way more expensive than they thought. And so it was a 2-story frame home in South Florida. Well, that's a hard insurance.
Yeah.
That's an insurance problem that's hard to work out. And they were worried about future saleability and marketability of the property. If they wanted to sell it down the road, are they going to have even worse problems then? So they're going to move on to another property. Well, there are issues that can be solved. And there's some issues you're going to do the math and say, well, I don't really want to deal with this.
Yeah.
But what we're seeing right now, like I said, I was talking to these people, and we're seeing that the sellers don't want to give anything up, and neither do the buyers. So there's this gap right now that's like it's going to take a talented agent to fill that gap.
Yeah.
And I'm talking about with problem solutions to these problems, problem solving, right? And so if they can fill that gap and figure out how to make both parties happy, then they're gonna keep the sale. And if the buyer's happy with the concession the seller's making, the seller's happy that they can sell their house at this price, even given this concession, then it's a win-win. Now, that might be a challenging thing right now. We're seeing more times than not that it's just not happening.
Right.
So what's the solution is for the people involved to see if they can work out a solution, to solve the problem.
Yeah, and it kind of comes full circle of why is this the number one deal killer? It's because there's that gap that neither side is really bending.
Neither side is bending.
It's hard.
And in the past, the deals when we had an issue come up, they're like, oh, okay, it's a $3,000 fix. Okay, give a seller concession for that. Negotiate a settlement, so to speak, as long as it doesn't fundamentally affect getting the mortgage, like I said, or getting insurance. Because there's some things that if they come up on in the appraisal, I don't care if it's an FHA, VA, or conventional appraisal, there's still some things that you can't lend on. Is that if they can come up with a solution, that's great. But if they can't, it does come down to could they still get insurance and can they still get a mortgage if there's a solution given?
Gotcha. Awesome. Well, I think that's all the questions I had. Thank you for the
information. That's it? I thought you had more.
No, that was it.
All right. Well, thanks for watching today. If you're not a subscriber, please go ahead, subscribe, hit the like button, share this with someone who you think might benefit. And that's all I got. Hope you enjoyed this. Talk to you next time.